In today's video, I invited on Dan Vang, Ying Huang, and James Hernandez, three of the best Digimon players in the world, to talk about the upcoming Digimon North American Nationals, as well as the BT11 format. We are going to go over everything from top decks to actual best practices in order to prepare for big tournaments like Nationals. It's going to be so much fun. Be sure you stick around. If you guys are excited about this video or get any value out of it, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I think like 60% of y'all who watch these videos aren't subscribed, so if this is like your third time watching one of my videos, that's the universe telling you it's time to subscribe. Click that big red button and just get it over with. With that said, I have a lot of questions to get through with these guys and not a lot of time. Let's get into it. I kind of want to kick things off just talking about decks. Everyone's worried that like only 1 week for BT11, is it really gonna properly represent the meta of what these cards can do, what these decks could possibly be, so on and so forth. I'm just gonna start things off by listing off a couple of the perceived top performers, and then I want to go around the table and give everyone a chance to give us their first sort of reactions, opinions, fears, praises, whatever, for all of these decks. If they want to mention any decks that I do not mention, by all means go ahead and do so. Black War Greymon X Antibody is definitely one that comes to mind. Metal Garurumon X Antibody has been a terror for a very long time and is definitely going to sneak into BT11, no question. We've got Mastamon. The fans out there love the new support, and rightfully so. We've got Jessamon, Grandis, other various sort of OTK-style deck shenanigans. Those are really the big things that come to my mind. Dan, we'll start with you again. Please feel free to talk about what your sort of first impressions are of the format. Are these the decks to look out for? Are they not? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they are. I think to add, though, Crossheart is also another viable deck. I would say that will probably get at least probably 2 spots in top 32.
Yeah, definitely a deck that people are sort of excited about and testing like crazy.
I would say a little bit more than 2 spots. I'm gonna give him 4 or 5 spots at top 32.
So far I'm eyeing on Black War, but as far as like prepping for Nats and testing, I don't think Black War is like as scary as a boogeyman that people have been pushing it for. It might be the most played deck for sure, but right now it's like a arms race on Digimon. Like other players that are sticking to their color or to their decks are like teching in anti-Black War stuff, so it's pretty cool. Like let's say Bloomlord could fight up against a Black War, even though some might think a pretty bad matchup. But yeah, like Mastamon is pretty good. War Grey X is pretty good. So it's just a whole. I think the format's gonna be kind of diverse. So that's my.
Like, do you think we're nowhere near figuring out BT11 format? Do you think it'll take Nats and maybe a couple more events like Nats to really flesh it out?
I think during the Nats format, anyone who has like tech cards, especially on their decks, would perform kind of well in the format. Everyone's like hiding their secret spice, to speak. So like no one's gonna try to reveal their own like tech for like getting that win, because outside like Japan's list or whatever we researched before our format, it's a little bit, in my view, a little bit basic. It's the average, and there can be more improvements to be made on a whole bunch of decks.
So I know you didn't mention it, but O-Force can easily sneak in there.
Yes, for sure.
Easily. It's a popular deck. However, the problem with O-Force, not a lot of people will be able to play it because it's locked behind 4 secret arenas. It's not exactly easy to get 4 secret arenas,
and they have 1 week to get those cards.
Yeah. Yep. So it's actually locked behind a wage cap. Actually, if anything, if you have the money, you can get the cards. If you don't have the money, you're probably not playing the deck.
And then, like, what's your take on, like, everyone's perception on what they need to prepare for? Do you think it's correct, or do you think people aren't preparing against the right things?
So it's 100% correct to at least prepare for Black War Grey. It is the most anticipated deck and the most expected deck to be played in the format. If we were to say, let's say we have everyone playing, the 1,000 players, I would expect at least 300 or 400 players to be on Black Will Greymon.
Of the 1,100 potential players we're going to have?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna have at least 33% being Black Will Greymon representatives. However, at the same time, you can't, like you say, you can't put away Melga. Melga will still be played. A lot of people will fall back to what they're used to playing. In this case, would be Melga. They went through a whole BT9, BT10, EX3. That's 3 formats of Melga right there. They know the deck in and
not
out.
just being there, being the best deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this will be like probably the first time that Melga has a real like rival, a real like scary deck that it just has a hard time beating, even against like the most competent to sort of like semi-competent player that you're gonna see at Nationals for sure. I'm really glad I have you guys for this because, and I'm saying this with like the utmost praise, and I'll explain why. I view you three specifically, and I think a lot of people in the community view you all as specialists, people that like to focus in on certain styles of play or even certain decks, certain colors, certain aspects of the game, and maximize the potential of those things in any format whenever new cards come out. Ying, if he could play Loop reasonably in BT11, I'm sure he would. Whether it's Lilith Loop, whether it's Minerva, whether it's not. If he felt confident enough to win the tournament with that deck, he would play it 1000%. James, he's always played black. He will never not play black if there's a black deck to play. This man played freaking one Doru Greymon Alphamon and got second place at San Diego Regionals. He's a mad lad. He will push it to the boundaries of power ceiling. And Dan, he's the aggro king. He wants to kill people and kill people as fast as possible. Doesn't matter what the format is. If it involves Imperial, it's also a shoo-in. So I want to ask, how do y'all approach preparing for big tournaments like this? When we have the established format or the perceived guest format months in advance, how do you prepare? Is it with proxies? Is it with friends online? And do you kind of zero in on what your deck or style of deck is going to be beforehand, whether it's a loop deck, an aggro deck, a black deck, so on and so forth? If you can make that work, will you like commit all the hours you need to make that work? Or will you succumb to figuring out what the best deck is in general? Ying, we'll start with you. What is your process for preparing for a big event like this? And usually how does it end up going for you?
I'm probably the worst person to come to this for, especially for a large event.
Because you're stubborn,
like
huh?
I am very stubborn. And, well, not. I'm both stubborn and open at the same time. It's just they're complete opposites of each other. I'm open to playing anything and everything, and I'm capable of playing anything and everything at the same time. However, when I'm looking at that, I'm also stubborn because I want to play a certain style of decks where I enjoy playing and have fun as well while winning. But if I can't do that, I end up playing, I don't know, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to play this deck that's supposed to be the best deck? Or am I going to play this deck that counters the best deck but loses to everything else?
You're doing it all and mastering it all, and what you have is a burden of choice.
It's definitely a burden of choice because when we found out what the format was, that's when I really started like playing on like tabletop or playing with friends every now and then online. But I'm never playing the same deck throughout the whole time. From then all the way till now, I have not played the same deck. Even now, just this week, I picked up a new deck.
And we have what, 4 days until we have to submit our deck list, and you're like, oh, maybe this one will be the one I go for.
I just picked up a new deck to mess around, to play test, adjust, see if it's worth it. If not, then obviously I'll toss it aside and try something else. But if it works out, I might take it. Who knows?
A specific question I have for you, because I've been on the opposite end of you, trying out something new, whether it's completely crazy or actually very well thought out and methodical. What is your method for figuring out the next step to making an already strong deck even stronger? A specific example I have for you is back when Lilith Loop specifically was like your baby. You were like, maybe I'll play 7 rookies today instead of 10. I'll just play as many crazy cards as I can to just see if it works. What would you call? I think you called doing that something funny too. Like, what is that process like for you? Where you're like, let me see how I can take this strategy that I already love, that I already know is good, and take it to the next level. What's that thought process like?
For me, it's straight up just limit testing. Like, at what point is it like, at what point is it just too much, or is it too little, or is it
Is
okay
this
to
idea
keep on
too
going?
crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, it was also mulligan format as well, where we're able to really take advantage of it and be okay with playing less rookie. And I don't know how it ended up being sticking with me when I started playing with only 8 rookies in loop back then, and it just kept on going.
That's so
I
cool.
I don't think I've like outside of standard one single stack decks, I don't think I've ever gone above 10.
Don't say stuff like that to me, okay? Next time we talk,
yin
don't ever say
ratio.
something like that to me ever again. I will not speak to you. But that's something I've always loved is, a lot of people talk about like play what you're comfortable with, play something you know very well as like what you should do for a tournament. But not enough people talk about, okay, here's this thing that you're comfortable with. Make it better for this format and then play it because you already know it so well. Make it as strong as it can possibly be and give yourselves the best chance possible to win. Don't just take it, show up, and think that's enough. You also need to like think about the format, think about what's possible in your deck, and be willing to make those risks. Be a little greedy because you know your deck so well, so you know kind of where you can afford to make those risks. Very cool. Love to see it.
Yeah, it's also the your state of mind and what you're planning to do with the deck. Because sometimes when you're going into a tournament, yes, you want to be as consistent as possible, but when you're trying to be as consistent as possible, it also means you're consistently losing to the same type of plays as well. So you want to be able to adjust your deck to say, all right, I want to take my deck out. I want it to win. I don't want it to consistently do certain things. I want it to just win. Doesn't matter what you're going against. So you're lowering your win rate against like one deck, but you're increasing your win rate as another deck in return as well. So at what percentage do you think is best for every as a full out spread?
And for a 2-day tournament like Nats, for example, that mindset's even better. Like when we're doing our 1-day 9-round regionals, you got to go undefeated to win. You got to maximize your win ratio. You can't take risks. But in a day 2 tournament, you're like, oh, I have only one bad matchup. If I do this, and this, I'll take that all day. And if you see it once, maybe twice, you're still good to go for that day 2 spot and have a second chance at winning the whole thing rather than just one chance. So that kind of thinking about how do I become the most well-rounded I possibly can for this tournament rather than the greediest becomes even more preferred.
Yep. I'm most likely the most greediest player, though. I'm 100% the most greediest player.
We've established this. This is 10 rookies, no more, no less. Okay, we've established this.
Disclaimer, I got a list from a friend, took a look at it. I was like, all right, well, how can I make this better? Let me cut a rookie. First thing in my mind. Very first thing in my mind. Let me cut a rookie.
You only need like 2 in every game. What good's gonna draw multiples later on? Doesn't matter. I need better cards. Okay, James, your process for preparing for big tournaments. Which black deck do you usually start with? Is I guess the most specific question I could ask.
Yeah, for me, the direction is easy because I focus on one color. So I make sure I'm going to be playing that color. I already have like a deck of choice for like every single format, even looking forward for the next formats. But like Ying, like I play every single other deck too. But and try to improve every other deck also. I would not recommend my practice style for like anyone else because it's like kind of time consuming, and having like playtest partners is always gonna be like the best way to practice for like a big tournament. But something I did for this Nats format, like early in the morning I would have breakfast, right? I would have breakfast, my coffee and stuff like that. But I would have 2 playmats on the other table with 2 decks on top of each other. And I would play by myself on one deck and on the other deck. So I would do some limit testing and see like what possible scenarios like 2 decks could do. And also something like a perfect hand testing. Let's say you're worried about the Black War X mirror match. What would happen if everyone had like the perfect draw, perfect hand? You would Evo for 2, Playboy on turn 2, stuff like that. So you would kind of see like the minute uh like decision making of the game, where like one single move that you should have done like 2 turns ago could be like the difference between like a really tight close game. So sometimes sometimes I would do that, like do like a perfect hand playtesting, see, and yeah, just to but the use case for that one would be doing those practice testing. I would see like strategies going forward. Like let's say I'm the Blackbar X player, and I would be playing up against Examon, where normally it would be like a bad matchup. But if you have like strategies in mind in the back of your head, you're already like preparing what you're gonna do in that matchup. That you're going in like fully prepared instead of I'm pretty sure everyone in the game thought this already, where you would be playing a game and you would be trying to look for an out for like specific matchups, and instead of looking for an out, instead of thinking during that time of the game, in the back of my head I already have like strategies prepped up, so that when like real decision making comes, it won't be like too time consuming for me or too stressful.
Exactly, and not as stressful. And a follow-up question for you here. When you're waking up on these mornings, which Rocky training montage music tape do you put into your music player? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? This sounds like Rocky 2 training montage to me. You know, the grinding to stay on top.
You played the Digimon 2020. The music from that one, Break the Chain. If anyone has heard it, oh my god, you're gonna get hyped up. I hope they play it on Nats.
Though that is a total vibe. That's awesome. And one thing I want to talk briefly about there is that idea of searching for your win in the middle of the game, whereas starting with a game plan and working on turn 1 for what you're going to do on turn 3, 4, or 5. Can you give me like any examples that you've had of recent memory? It doesn't need to be for BT11, where you had that kind of game plan going in.
But yeah, let's say I was playing Alphamon, and I would have like a Jesmon matchup maybe, or even like a Blue matchup, and they would think that Alpha could just blow up one Digimon on the board when you go to the Oryuken stack. But you already knowing you're playing Alphamon and you have like the inheritable to pop like 5 play costs or less after every end of swing. So I'm like, when my opponent does that play, and they would think that they're safe, I'm like, okay, I will have my answer here. I just need to draw my cards. Or if, like, say my opponent tries to choke me to 1 or something like that, and I would have like in the back of my head, if I draw into like the old BT6 Alphamon, I'll tuck in an X antibody option, swing with the BT6 Alphamon, have it restand, gain the memory. They're popping like a memory blocker. So yeah, like scenarios like that, like you would be already like prepped up, and yeah, you just get used to the deck more, and it'll just like push. I believe like every deck has like Digimon itself could evolve along with the pilot. So the more you play with your deck, the more like certain strategies just come out, and you just yeah. So like it's it's a little bit hard to explain, but it's just evolving your play style, I guess. That would be the best way to put it.
Like, instead of just thinking about what's the best thing my deck can do, what's the best way people try to stop me from doing what that is, and then how do I interact with that with the current deck list that I have. And that could mean this turn I'm actually going to hold back a little bit, wait for them to set up their safe board against me, and then break that, and then go from there.
Yeah, because if you're predictable on the game, especially on this game, you kind of have like the disadvantage if your opponent has like more like tech choices, or you have no idea what your opponent's gonna do. The opposing side that has like the like thinking outside of the box, will have like a slight advantage on the game, and on this game you need like every single advantage you can get to like grab the win.
As Ying taught me very recently, not understanding what birds do is good enough to lose to them. Um, but yes,
we can
Lychee,
talk about that deck later on if we have to.
if we have to. Great discussion, Lychee. Dan, finish it off. How do you prepare for big tournaments? What's the easiest route to kill your opponent, and why?
Sure, I typically pick aggro style decks. That's just who I am. I don't think you'll ever catch me playing, security control or anything like that. I think even playing the Blackburger X is the most control deck I've ever played, essentially, aside from like more aggro decks. Similar to Lychee, I'm not the morning coffee person playing in the morning, but I do, play like Goldfish and try to, see what the optimal hands are for the deck, see what the worst case scenario is. I'm sure some people out there watching, you have the shower thoughts. You're like, what if I teched in this card? What would that do? And then be like, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea. And I do bounce around just ideas. I'll ask anybody, even these guys included here in this panel. I'm just like, what do you think? And then I like honest opinions. I want to know like, hey, was that a good choice? Was it not a good choice? I do prepare just by watching a lot of people's footage too. Anyone who posts like BT11 footage, I'll watch it, try to learn, especially Ulforce. The Ulforce is probably one of the harder decks for me to learn at the beginning. And usually when I try to prepare, I usually pick, like I said, more aggro style decks, just like that. And I can try to figure out which one I like best.
You have a better read on how to approach making that play style the best it could be in any given format with any given style of cards, for sure.
Yes.
And I really wanted to kind of talk about that point you just made too, of like watching footage. I remember back in the day, the biggest life hack I ever gained was watching locals deck profiles when I was a up and coming Cardfight Vanguard player. What I would do is I would search Cardfight Vanguard deck profile. I'd type in the format, the time, whatever it is, and I would sort by most recent. Not by most viewed, not by nothing. I would watch the local gameplay, people tearing down their locals with the rogue stuff, with the meta stuff, with the new stuff, with the old stuff. And I love just watching them talk about the game, because getting as many different insights into the game, whether they're correct or not, is the best way for you to kind of fill your knowledge bank for whatever that format is, whatever that game is, and then make your own decisions from there as to what's the best way to continue. I'm all about that kind of stuff. Great job. Now I kind of want to get specifically into what people are doing nowadays in Digimon, and a deck that I've been hearing for the past like 3 days nonstop. People asking me about this deck is Crossheart, specifically like an aggro version of Crossheart that plays like Mervamon, plays a lot of the new stuff. Is that actually good? Anyone can take this question, and if people want to add anything, they can. If you think you have a good take on whether or not Crossheart is real, and if so, why, pop off.
So, from my understanding of that version of the deck, is they play a bunch of memory gains like Blinding Ray or Gravity Crush and so on. So once your hand is already set up, prepared, Mervamon is essentially 7 costs to play, and all your guys get rush. So if you can drop it down for 7, you now have 3 bodies going at your security with rush, and you can bring back, let's say, a cross 4 or a cross 3. You can get searches, draws. That's more cards in your hand, and you can replenish it and continue your turn with one play. And the best thing about Mervamon is when you play it, you can cross from your trash. You don't have to cross from your hand or from on your tamer. Everything else has to be from your hand, tamer, or board.
And then how does that style of combo or play match up, you think, in BT11?
It feels like a slower type. It takes longer to set up. By the time you set up, if you don't win that turn, you're done.
So it's kind of like a big burst. If you can't get there, if that's not enough, it's just over.
Yeah, I think you're better off playing Merva on the Serb Loop package.
Oh, so like a loop style of deck that kind of capitalize on the retaliation synergy Mervamon has, rather than the Crossheart synergy.
Yeah, I feel like if you're playing Crossheart, the Cross 7 package is kind of nice. I mean, you're playing a Megazord on top of your deck, so
which is just fun. That's just great. We love that.
But yeah, for me, Crossheart, in my opinion, you're kind of better off just doing like the rush style package. Then, if you want to top off something, maybe top it off with Cross 7. Like it would be nice, and you could prep up for next set too, when you get that Cross 7 Superior mode upgrade also.
So like a little bit
Yeah.
of like behind, like a foreshadowing for what is truly to come for that deck once more support comes
Yeah.
out for it.
Yeah, Cross 7 even kills like a Black Warrior X. I mean, Cross 7 Superior mode even destroys like a Black Warrior X.
For like what, 2
Uh,
memory or
stack.
free or something like that. I think once you have Cross 7, it's free, right?
Cross 7 is 2 memory.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of Superior. I have to look at it.
Okay, well, no worries. That's future us's problem,
Yeah.
not this week's us problem.
Yep.
Glad I had y'all here to clarify that for me, because like everyone's been talking about Crossheart. And I'm like, I don't see it, guys. Like, I love the new cards. Cross 7's cool, but Mervamon feels a little out of place. I'm glad it makes more sense to me.
Yeah, it's still fast though. Like especially with the Cross 3 package.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that
What-
card alone, I think, is like the best inclusion. Just having like another low drop cross to like enable all your small plays in the mid game is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
not
it,
even-
it also has Rush.
Yeah.
We love Bushy Agumon. We love Bushy Agumon in
Yeah.
any color, in any archetype.
Yeah, one thing that's a little bit hidden on Crossheart is Z Greymon. So
Mhm.
Z Greymon, if you have the Cross 5 drop for essentially free, it swings 2 checks. If you have Z Greymon in hand, your Cross 5 could restand and potentially be like 1 memory Evo restand swing again. So that's one thing like Crossheart is still like an aggro deck.
And
Yeah, this
aggro
is
with like a crazy resource engine. Like those tamers loop and give you as much as you're ever gonna need in any deck.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to move on to a little bit of interesting, just like takes from you guys, opinions in general. It's going to be kind of a two-parter question, but feel free to be as simple or as complicated as you'd like. We're going to start with Dan this time. It's going to be are there any rogue decks that you like or that people are not talking about in BT11 that you want to kind of shine a light on? If there aren't any, no big deal. People are smart. They come up with a lot of stuff. The second question, though, is do you see, as a result of Nationals or in preparation for Nationals, any trends in Digimon that will evolve or change? For example, are OT gay decks gonna flop in BT11? Is that a trend you foresee happening because everyone's preparing for them or what have you? What are some of those things, personal opinions and that stuff? Go ahead.
Sure. Like we mentioned before, Old Force, I would consider it's a tier 1.5, maybe a tier 2 deck, depending on the day, depending on the pilot. In my hands, probably tier 2. In hands of Li Ying, maybe tier 1.5 to tier 1, you know?
Nah.
But I do like the deck a lot, like being said earlier. We're locked behind a little bit of a price wage right there for the secret rares, and if you're trying to max it out for Nats, I'm sure somebody out there is maxing it out. That's like double what you're paying, right?
Inevitable.
So it is a lot. I do like Leo Bond a lot, like the Ponjax.
Oh, so it's like a
Anyama?
Leomon package in Gabu Bond is what you're saying.
Yes. Or if you run the Leo package in Old Force, I'm just a big fan of the Leo package, trying to drop those tamers down again.
We love
I
checking
would
a Jerry and security and getting a free blocker plus Hammer Spark. We love that.
Yep.
We love that.
Yep.
It's
I would
not just
say
a blocker;
those.
it draws you a card too.
That's correct,
Yep.
actually.
Block, gain 2, draw 1. You're getting so many bonuses when the Leo dies. I would say a good rogue deck still. I may be a little biased here, but I think Imperial Dramon is not the worst rogue deck out there.
I gotta ask though:
Mm-hmm.
blue, green, or red, purple?
Surprisingly, I think Red Purple is actually the better one for this format. Is that crazy for me to say that?
If you're saying it, I'll believe it. If I said that, you shouldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying?
I would say that.
And then, are there any trends you see changing as a result of Nationals, or kind of like in the lead up to Nationals? Things that you like is the Digimon TCG gonna change, basically?
I would hope so. I think at this point we're still in that I can still play an OTK deck and still win, right? Melga can still do the same thing. Garandus can still do the same thing. They don't require as much interaction from the opponent, right? You're just building and swinging. So hopefully, maybe after Nats, maybe there's a list just to change up the meta a little bit. That would be nice.
The ultimate trend, a banned and limited list. Love it so much. Lychee, go ahead. Any rogue decks that you don't think have been talked about that should be, and any trends you foresee either as a result of Nats or in preparation for Nats?
Rogue decks. I have a pretty good Rust Tyrannomon list.
Oh.
Like
If
Oh.
it's got black, he's
Oh,
playing it. The
Yeah,
hopium is real.
It's so good. Like once you play it, it's like wow, this feels good playing this deck. I would not run it in Nats though, but I will run it on some like weekly tournaments, maybe. Like let's say GFG or Mario's tournament. I probably would showcase that deck and play it more. But yeah, I do have a really good Rust Tyrannomon list I have in the bag. I kind of want to try to test it out and top with it.
All right, Ying, talk about your rogue decks.
I'm pretty sure we all expect this, but the rogue deck I'm going to be talking about is this one right here.
What
the
is that?
Phoenix
Birds? Phoenix
It's
Mon,
birds. It's birds.
Oh,
It has to be birds.
No,
Gotta
that
be
deck's good,
birds.
Ying.
Yep, birds. Akiho. I'm putting a Marsmon in here because raid is what you want to counter Blackwood Greymon.
Mhm.
Raid,
I-
it's
Battle destruction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, raid lets you get over it because Blackwood Greymon is just they always unsuspend, so you're able to target them for swap attack, and then if you have a DP boost, you attack over it and attack again because it unsuspends itself as well. So being able to clear Blackwood Greymon's board is amazing in this case. But that's only for Blackwood Greymon. Everything else, I don't know. I haven't run into anything else yet.
Who knows how good it'll be, but that's what makes it
Who knows?
exciting. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a game plan you can do. Phoenix Mon can summon a bunch of dudes and attack a lot.
Nope.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Phoenix
So
Mon.
if you've seen it, you can play the old Bergermon. It's from BT1. This one right here, where on play give one of your other Digimon secure attack +1.
Mm-hmm.
Bergermon lets you play it for free when when you attack and security is removed from a card is removed from their security. I can use my on deletion effect that lets me play one of the birds, and this one being played gives them a skill attack +1, and then the tamer gives the Digimon rush as well. So you're doing multiple hits just from doing that.
Oh, the
Mhm.
amazing part of that deck is once you set up enough tamers to do Phoenix Mon swing, drop a Phoenix Mon. The Phoenix Mon has rush. It's like Phoenix drops. Pretty
Don't
good.
Yeah.
give him more ideas, James. He already savaged me with 4 damage on turn 2. I can't live with more than that.
Yeah, so if there's enough tamers, you go Phoenix swing, like he said. Phoenix drops another Phoenix, and Akio gives Phoenix rush. Phoenix
Yep.
attacks, then drops another Phoenix. A second Akio would then give the other Phoenix rush, and you keep repeating. But that's a really, really late game move. It will almost never pull off against Blackwood Greymon because you're not gonna have tamers by then.
Hopefully. From Twitter, this is one that I really liked. It's from Kate, aka Digitama Queen. We've got, what mechanic do you feel is underutilized, if any, and what support would you want to see to make you want to use it? I'll start with Ying on this one.
Digiburst. 100%
Digiburst. It's not underutilized. It just hasn't been utilized in a very long time. It was so utilized when it came out.
No, but right now it's 100% like just not utilized at all, pretty much. Well, it is being utilized in birds.
You're playing
'cause
one
I-
copy of Rise Greymon. Yes, it's
there's
being
two.
utilized.
There's two. There's 4 copies of Rise Greymon here. There's
Okay,
4
okay.
copies.
I'm sorry.
But no, it is being utilized in the birds, but like it's not being utilized in like top contender decks. It's not like
Okay.
a top tier deck that's being utilized. So maybe we can get some more Digiburst cards out. Who knows? Because ever since they came out with Digiburst, like after a set 2, something like that, it straight up just disappeared pretty much. It was almost not utilized ever again. Rush is continuously being utilized. On deletion effects continuously being utilized. What else? Draw effects. Everything else is really continuously when digivolving. That's something that's naturally always going to be reoccurring. But Digiburst, it really just disappeared from the face of the earth almost.
I would love to see more like when this card gets digibursted style of effects to like trigger something to happen. I would love something like that.
Yeah, I think we only have very few cards that do that.
Or like specifically
Yeah,
like
just-
when this card is removed from your sources, kind of an effect would I think be like the way I would kind of shape it. So that way it has more generic uses, but it's obviously best in a proactive digiburst style of setting. Very cool.
Yes.
James, any mechanics you think are underutilized, and then what would it take for you to play it?
I'm not sure. Yeah, there's not much. Maybe armor.
More armor purge stuff. Okay.
Yeah, armor purge is kind of nice, but
Give it
It's
a
just
way to
on
beat
select
DP reduction, and I will play it tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
I think DP reduction should be nerfed. To be honest, that's
Let's just nerf a mechanic of the game. Can we just pretend a mechanic of the game no longer exists? Please and thank you.
yeah. I mean, there's not much underutilized. I think, in my opinion, like now since I've been using it like the whole time, but now on the Blackwater X format, digital is like a really crazy thing on the coming format. But before it was
It was
kinda
the laughing stock.
underutilized.
It was the laughing stock of removal, Digivolve. Remember, people were like, "What? Who cares? I'll just do it. I have 10 of these things. I'll do it again."
Yeah, now everyone has it now. But yeah, there's not much, I guess, underutilized. There's more like overutilized. I think the most strongest effect Digimon has is unsuspend. Unsuspend's probably like one of the strongest effect.
Mhm.
That's why OTK decks are there.
It just enables
Yeah.
so much more for you, like in terms of aggressive tempo, which is like a driving force of Digimon. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unsuspending. I agree. It's definitely
It's
more
too strong.
stronger. Yeah. It's to be. I think it's stronger than security attack because let's say if you're at like one security left, security attack plus means nothing there. Unsuspending means that's game.
Oh, he just hold up Imperial. Be like, who does it the best? Who did it first? Imperial did it. Imperial was the first one to swing 3 times at us, and we were like, "Whoa, that's crazy." So Dan, any mechanics you think are underutilized, and what would it take for you to play them?
It's tough because I would like a different style of delay. I know we're slowly going to get more styles of that, but I would like delay to be used other than just obviously the most popular one right now is the memory boost, right? Where delay gain 2 memory, gain 3 if you're using reinforce, whatever. Master Disciple. I would like to see if we could get like a different style of delay, if that makes sense.
I would love to see. It would be terrible, but I would love to see delay on a Digimon. Like this Digimon needs to be in play for 1 turn before you can trigger this effect. And because Digimon is so rife with removal, it's gonna be a super powerful effect because it's so easy to get rid of whatever Digimon this is. So that to me is what I think is like the proper evolution for it. But obviously, it would create like super powerful effects that would like warp timing of effects. So maybe it's not the most balanced thing, but that's what I thought about when you just said delay. Let's go ahead and open it up for about 2 or 3 minutes to any questions we see in the chat. If we don't see any good ones, I'm moving on to my final question, and I'm gonna let y'all go. This is a great question that Max, fellow streamer, asked us. Because a lot of y'all have done great in past events, specifically nationals, do you feel pressure to perform this year? I think we kind of briefly touched on this when we were talking about how y'all prepare for this tournament. You're just going in, playing what you think is best for yourselves on that day. Whatever happens, happens. You all are very established card game players. You're veterans of the game. I don't think your like self-worth is attached to how well you do in these tournaments. So whether you walk away winning the whole thing or that top 32 sweet jacket at the minimum, I'm sure you'll be equally happy. So, but obviously, don't let me speak for you. What's y'all's opinions? Do you feel pressure to perform, or do you not?
Partially, yes, I do feel pressure.
Okay. Because you're coming off that top 4. You're coming off that I almost made it to Worlds. You kind of want to prove to yourself like I can get to that next stage because I was this close. I can do it.
Yeah, I was like, if I just want a repeat. Like it doesn't have to be a winning. I just want a repeat performance where I can top 4 again. That's why, like.
So your
that's where
bar
this
for
ends.
yourself is I got top 4. I can do that again, and I'm gonna try to do that again.
Which is really hard. It's
I'm
really
never
hard.
walking into a tournament with that mentality because I will walk away so sad. But you could totally do it, bro. I believe in you.
I mean, for me too, it's like the pressure is there, but I think the more you prep for nets, the less pressure there is.
It just feels like I'm gonna do what I am prepared to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I think most of us here would be eyeing not even just for the Nats win. Like we're eyeing for the throne, the whole world champ.
Oh,
Also
I am
on trophy
definitely
card,
looking
that's
to
it.
win the whole world championships, baby. And if I
Yeah,
don't,
that's a-
oh boy, I'm gonna let myself so down. But no, I do hear you. Yes, I'm not going
But-
to Nats without the intention of winning. Yeah.
Yeah, you should go forward to Nats like, with the biggest intention to win it all. I feel like, but anything else, I feel like Nats would just be like a celebration of the whole year of Digimon too.
Yes.
You would just go there, enjoy yourself. First and foremost, like it's the game we've been playing for like the whole year, and yeah, it's like another season next season. But on that weekend, we'll celebrate. We'll play. It's a whole bunch of team battles.
Oh, it's gonna be
That'd be a
sick.
thing. It would be awesome. Like people mix and matching with teams and good players to try to play with each other.
I'll try. You know, if I win, I win. If I top, I top. That's great, right? I told Lichi Ying and some other people already that know me. I'm just like, the goal right now is just to get to top 4, get 4th. I don't care. 3rd place. I'll get 3rd would be nice, right? Get a trophy and a prize card. But if I get 4th and get to Worlds, I'm okay with that. That'd be something. Just I want to get to that next step, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like Lichi said, you know, this is a celebration. I think we're at Digimon 25th anniversary. We're all going to be there. We're going to see like
It'll be
Kenji
crazy.
Watanabe, get some signings. We're going to see some cool art. The real prize at the end of the day, hopefully, if you go to Nats, even if you don't go to Nats, you can still watch the live stream. But the real prize at the end of the day, guys, is the friends we made along the way.
That's
and
right.
you know
It's
that.
about the journey, not the destination. We love
That's
that.
the One Piece talking in you. Yeah.
All right, y'all. We have had an amazing conversation. Y'all are pillars of the game, pillars of the community. I love talking to you about Nats. I'm going to end it off with the question I always end off with. If Nats was tomorrow and you weren't allowed to sleeve up anything new, test anything new, what is the deck you're bringing? And what is the one deck you don't want to play against? Ying, take it away.
If I just go in right now, no more testing.
No.
I'd probably say it's a toss up between Masty or Black or Gray.
Okay.
It's a toss up.
And then what's
Well,
the
like-
one deck you don't want to play against regardless of matchup?
Regardless of matchup, the one deck I don't want to play against is Grandis.
Oh man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, bro, but you might play against a lot of those. James, do we even need to ask this question? What are you playing if it was
No.
tomorrow?
It's clear as day. I am gonna be playing Black War Grey X. Yeah, I think I am fully confident with my list now. To push the deck towards its limits as like deck building standpoint. But yeah, it's simple as day, like Black War X. It's like for me the culmination of my playstyle from playing all the black decks I've played before. It has everything on the previous playstyles I've been doing, and it's just like they're on its like topmost limits now. You know, Black finally threw. No, not finally. Alpha did it.
It's had its day plenty of times by now, but it still feels like the underdog even when it's on top. Yeah. What's the one deck you don't want to play against, regardless of matchup?
Alphamon, because I don't want to hurt Alphamon.
So you know the strat to beat Leechy. Show up with Alphamon, he'll be like, you've got to win. Go on. Dan, if it was tomorrow, what deck you playing and what don't you want to play against?
It's either Melga or Blackwood Grayax. I won't lie right now. Those are the decks I feel the most comfortable with right now.
For sure.
Because Grandis is not listening to me when I play, so I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get it.
It just speaks to some, not all. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, not a green player. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying, but I'm not a green player, unfortunately.
If there's no blue in there, it doesn't recognize me.
It does not. It does not.
If there's no unsuspending, it doesn't recognize you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what's the one deck you don't want to play against, regardless of matchup?
Security control.
Oh yeah, I mean, not that you can't do it. It's just that really, I'm gonna sign up for this for the next 40 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's tough. But no shade to anyone else. If you love security control and love playing it, go for it. It's just not my style type of deck, and I know I'll be like, if I just get this one check, I can make this play and close it out. And it's like degrade. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. You got this. You know.
With that being said, I want to thank you guys one more time for your time. Go ahead, stare at the camera, and shout out whatever you want for the next 10 seconds, and then head out. Ying, start with you again.
Thank you for having me here, and yeah, I will take my rematch against Dan only at top 8. Nowhere before that. Not
Yes.
before that.
And
We'll
then
do
we'll
it before
celebrate it, and then he will celebrate about it on Twitter and YouTube at Just Another Human. Links in the description. Check him out. He's amazing. James, over to you. Any shout outs you want to give before you leave?
Shout out to my locals, DXN, and thank you for having me too. You guys been great. I think if I check the field here, what I'm hoping going to Worlds would be like 4 people going to Worlds. Here's the 4 people right here. That would be nice.
That'd be sick. If we ended up top 4, how serendipitous would that be? That'd be crazy.
That'd be
That'd
crazy.
be insane. That would be insane.
And then Dan, any shout outs? Pop them.
Shout outs to everyone on the panel here. Obviously, shout outs to everyone in the chat watching. Hopefully, we can meet at Nats, or if we've already been talking online, that's cool too. Shout outs to Guy Force Gaming, and just thank you, everybody. Hopefully, you can get one other person inspired to play Digimon one day.
Yep.
I will take no more of y'all's time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you guys for joining us. Peace. And boom, there you guys go. That wraps up our Digimon Nationals discussion panel. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. I definitely did. I could literally talk to these guys for hours on end and never get tired. One last shout out to Dan, Ying, and Lychee for joining us. Links to all their important things down below if you want to check out more things that they do outside of making videos with me and winning Digimon tournaments. With that said, I've been your true champion, Steven. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Peace.